All right, we're getting started. All right, I've got chat a little more front and center so I can see it. And good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing today? Okay, so we need to think about what we're doing and how we're doing it today. So we've got today and tomorrow to kind of wrap this up and finish it up. Let me double check my calendar too. Yep, we got today and tomorrow. Now I'm going to need to keep working on this otherwise, which is fine. But let's think a little bit more about how we want to wire this up. And remember, this is all just a promotion for DevX Days, and Get Cracking is just letting me do some of this building in public so I can learn and understand, XDism better for a talk I'm giving at SquiggleConf. SquiggleConf is coming up. Let's see. October 3rd and 4th. I think the 4th is workshop day. The 3rd is the talk day. Yes, right here. So yeah, right? A lot of good speakers. A couple I recognize. A couple I don't yet. But yeah, definitely a cool crowd to be a part of. And I'm just happy to be involved. Yeah, this will be fun. And my talk is about WebAssembly and using XDism as a plugin framework, basically, so that you could write plugins in any language you want, as long as the language consuming them can consume WASM. So if we look at XDism here, when we look at running a plugin, we can run a plugin in all of these languages that support consuming WASM. So this is where the SDK is. So we could use JavaScript, Go, Rust, Ruby, Python, C#, F#, Java, Elixir, C, PHP, OCaml, Zig, Haskell, C++, and D. Just, that's a mouthful, isn't it? So yeah, whatever your application's written in, it's probably one of these, right? Not always, but you know. If you wanted to write a plugin though, that's a little more limited because there needs to be good output support for WASM, and not all languages do that well yet. I do know someone who goes by the name NewDuck, who is making Por4, which is actually aiming to make JavaScript a WASM output as well. Now, technically, we can compile the JavaScript, but there's something really interesting about Por4 that I just feel like shouting out. It's cool. So basically, it's taking JavaScript and compiling that JavaScript to WASM. It is preferring ahead-of-time compilation instead of just-in-time compilation, which means the WASM size is much smaller. And it means that, at least on first load, it's also faster. Now, just-in-time compiler might be able to optimize some things faster, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I think there need to be a set of really good benchmarks, and you know what? There's at least this part showing their compatibility with Test 262, which is an official ECMAScript conformance test suite. So every commit is tracking this. So you can actually see like regressions or progress. And I think there's a major goal to not have any regressions. And yeah, looks like he's seen some massive progress in the past couple commits as well. Let's actually scale it down a bit. Yeah, like major uptick recently. So yeah, I'm just stoked on this, especially like it's a really cool idea, but also because they've been a viewer in my Twitch stream for a long time. And yeah, super cool person. All right, so let's actually dig back into kind of what I'm needing to build now. Now we don't need, okay, this is where we're doing our plugin dev. And it looks like this was still stopped. Can I stop this now? I can. Okay, cool. Let's just restart extensions just in case. No, I do not want to open the dev container. So now let's organize things up. We see Git lens. We see the Go plugin that we made. We see, we see the CLI where we were working on it. I got confirmation that there isn't too much proprietary that I got to worry about. Just maybe protecting some of our integration stuff, which makes sense. Let's see, we got this part working. So we were able to get fetch working from our inside of Git lens. So yeah, I think inside of Git lens might be the easiest place to iterate on this stuff. Yeah, okay. So for now, let's go look at my notes. Right, so we got some good notes from the past week so far, right? About how HTTP requests work and how some of that works, how the TS being scaffolded could be nicer. But we could just make a PR for this part. The problem is that it doesn't build with that there. So that's a little trickier. There's some typing stuff that would be better with the PDK. So yeah, this error right here. Caused by trying to load remote WASM files. So not every context will have the full WebAssembly API available. VS Code doesn't expose the compile streaming function. Easy enough. See, documenting things, each surface. Okay, so this is about documenting the plugins themselves. I think one major goal would actually be to make sure that these things could be interoperable. So if you write a plugin that is general, right, like a general plugin, it could be the same plugin used in Get Kraken Desktop, or yeah, Get Kraken Desktop maybe, or the CLI, or Get Lens, etc. So like this starts my mind just wandering, like, yeah, if we ended up shipping plugin capabilities, we'd probably want to ship a marketplace for people to upload plugins. Maybe. That does sound tricky, just because security reasons, etc., right? Like trusting every plugin out there. Yeah, that raises a lot of concerns. So that's the tricky part. So maybe, you know, if we create a marketplace, we accept some liability. If you just find some plugin and don't vet it, but we didn't do the marketplace for it, that's your liability. So there's something to think about there. At what point do we want to draw the boundary of where we want to accept responsibility for the plugins people install? I do think that might be a good experiment. We should try writing to the local file system from plugin, right? This one right here. That might be a better use of our time. And yeah, thanks, Allison, for posting those links. Awesome. And how's everyone out there on stream? Please say hi, chat. Stream is more fun when you all chat. Let me do one thing here and get some fresh tea bags. Oh, I forgot that's why I really don't like having my laptop that close, but need to be able to see chat. And there's too much trouble to wire it up to the teleprompter. And yeah, if you're out there, yeah, say hi. Let me know what you're up to, how you're doing. I made a delicious carbonara last night. Boy. Yeah, this is the task we're going to do today. I want to see about writing to the local file system as well, because I think that is also a very useful technique, and I want to see if there's any issues we run into similar to how we ran into issues doing HTTP request stuff. So let's continue down that route. Let me make sure I have the right microphone hooked up, actually. Okay, I do. Perfect. All right, so we'll save that file, but we're going to move this over because we're actually going to be working in the plugin at this point. So here in main.go, we're doing some fetching stuff. What about file system stuff? And my guess is that's something that we would have to do via xdism rather than just raw FS packages. Now, that does mean a little bit that xdism still ends up being a bit of a DSL, domain-specific language, because we have to use their packages rather than standard library stuff. which makes some sense, but hold on, let me get to the right place. I think it would be a more compelling thing for them to make it seamless. So using FS, or the file system from Go, or Node would be really useful. Being able to use fetch would be really useful, just directly. Right? The more it feels like you're just writing code for that platform, the better off. Now, that would have to actually come with some caveats, right? Like, not everything from the standard library would work. And maybe that's part of their, like, eventual scope. I don't know. But, yeah, let's keep going. So... it's going to be in the PDK here. You probably just want to look at the docs a bit. I see we've got like config stuff we can set. Here's the HTTP stuff. I don't see anything about file system stuff. So maybe it's not supported. Okay. Well, let's double check that then. Golang. Let's scoot in a bit. So Go file system right. And I really like this Go by example. It's just nice and easy. When you're not writing in a language every day, it's easy to forget some of the basics of it. Right? Syntax is easy. Library stuff is tougher. Okay, so we could create our data, and we wanted to turn it into bytes, and then we would just do an os.write file. We would want to set the permissions, sure. And we could do a check for error. That is pretty straightforward. Yeah, let's give it a shot. So when this greet plugin gets handled, let's try and do it maybe just right after this. That way we still get some of the other stuff. So check, undefined. Looks like check is a different thing. We'll just do the if error nil stuff. Yeah, error isn't new. So this will just be a different error. This will be FS error. And the error there is then going to be something like could not write to file system. Temp dat1. Sure, why not? So we need to recompile that, I think, unless we already have that running. Ooh, we might. Nothing to be done for main.go? Yeah, there is. Maybe we'll just restart it. Oh, I think it's still running. Something seems very cursed. Oh no. All right, here we go. Just grab that. Might want to put that into our make file or something. All right, so now that's kicking off. Okay, so we'll consider that good. All right, we need to get the extension host way over there. All right, so we don't see any errors yet. That's good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, let's look at our output. That part worked. Okay, so that did not work. The file system write seems to have failed. All right, so we didn't write to there. And hey, what's up, FD? How you doing there over on YouTube, Mr. Sir? Yeah, this Xtism stuff is pretty cool. Let me do this then. Ah, you're gaming? What game are you playing? Ah, okay. So I know what happened. Hold on. Over in our Git lens code, where do we even have Git lens right now? Yeah, here we go. So over in our Git lens code, we're using the, oh, we are using the Go plugin. Very interesting. So that should have worked and compiled. Audio is better? Yeah, thank you. I was using the wrong microphone. You called it. So yeah, we had it fixed yesterday too. And yeah, just throwing this out there. If you're not aware, depending on where you live, you can get up to 80% off of Gitkraken. Might be worth checking out. Okay, so that part looks okay. Yeah, I think here's the big thing here. That output we're doing, that's happening here in the extension in GitLens. I think there's something cursed about that terminal tab, so let's do another. Oh, I think I know maybe what the issue would have been. Let's just do a make build real quick. Okay. Yeah, we were just in like a cursed state in that other tab. Most likely due to like how I renamed the folders or something. All right, so now that means we need to restart this. Let's clear this buffer too. And yeah, theoretically, if that recompile worked. No, we still don't see that file getting written. So yeah, file system stuff might not work. Even though we have WASI turned on. Let me just do this one more time. We do see that output happen, which means that our Go code is completing to its end. But hold on, I could see that it's failing and we're not actually reporting that failure anywhere. That's what I need to do here. So instead of format print line, I might want to just send an output string. There we go. So then if I do that, that'll probably explain why we're not seeing it. Because yeah, like where would the standard out go? Now it's possible that we could. No, there's no config for passing standard out. Maybe it's no, not allowed. Oh, allowed paths. Ah, that might be a big part of it. Okay, so hold on. Allowed paths is something I need to look up. Right, and again, like you probably want to do this for security reasons. So this is going to be inside of the JavaScript SDK. All right, so we see configuration here. And that's config to the plugin itself, right? Right, so this is where we could actually expose functions to the plugin, right? And that's kind of like how we did the fetch thing too. Okay. So that's almost like the hooks thing. But this is more like, no, this is different from the hooks that I was thinking about. Okay, so let's keep going. When we look at this, right, we see allowed hosts, allowed paths. So it's a key value store, right? Like it was showing us, but we don't see a good example of why. Oh, and enable WASI output. I think that would be a good thing because then we might get our logs too. Format. There we go. Now, I actually want to see what happens there. So we restart. And I would expect to see more output here in the terminal. So could not write to file system. We didn't even get the hello world this time. Interesting. Now, is that because we did output string that way? So you can only really output one string. So instead, we'd want to like append to the string and then send that. Interesting. I think, nah, we'll leave that. Just because I want to see it that way. Yeah, because it is just an input-output thing. Yeah, so we'd actually want to build the string. So I'm going to make a note of that because I think that's important. Right, so output string will only work once, if I could spell. Last one wins. So that's actually good to know, right? Output string will only work once per function. Last one wins. Yep. That is interesting to know. We still can get this enable WASI output part to fire for us, which I find interesting. What I'm wondering now is, oh, and we see the optional fetch here too. So yeah, if I had looked at a lot of this a little bit more, I probably would have understood it better. Okay, so yeah, back to allowed paths. We don't really see like a good example of that. We see where it's defined, sure. How does it get used? Read-only directory is not allowed. Okay. So this basically just rationalizes the config into an internal config and then passes that to the rest of the world. Okay. So that makes a little bit of sense. All right, so there's polyfills. Aha, okay, hold on. So let's go look at this test real quick. For allowed paths, what are they trying to do here? So we see that. It's mounting read-only. They're checking to make sure that you can't actually do that. Is that the only place we see that in this file? See it in 6 places. Okay. So then mount tests/data. Yeah, I wish there was just a little bit more explanation of how this is supposed to work. I wonder if we could see some examples. Nah, we're just seeing allowed hosts. Guess we just got to fiddle with it. So allowed paths here. Based upon what we saw, if I want to do /tmp and then /dat1, looks about right to me. So then if we go over here, we reload, we should see this refresh. Yep. We don't see an error get thrown, but we're not seeing that output string anymore. Interesting. Definitely didn't write the file. We didn't get this either. So let me hide that. And we'll recompile. And it could be a permissions issue. Interesting. So we're not getting the other output now either. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what allowed paths is for. I feel like we would have seen an error though, too. Yeah, we're not getting any of our output now. And hold on, is this actually supposed to be output error? No, it's output memory. So it's just JSON string or memory. So we've now broken something. Okay, so we get that back now. So the moment we do the allowed paths thing, that's when we start getting no more output. Because we didn't change anything here, I forgot to recompile it. So I think I'm just fundamentally misunderstanding what allowed paths is used for. Yeah, so that's definitely it. The moment we do allowed paths, we don't see any output here. So allowed paths, I think, is used for something totally different. I thought it was like for allowing us to write to the file system, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. All right, so this is the PDK. Let's find the Go SDK, and maybe they explain it in the docs there better. It's the plugin config that we care about. Here we go, plugin config. In our Go code, here in the CLI, we go back to root command and look at what we're doing here. Yeah, plugin config takes in that part, which is enable WASI. It's the manifest that does the allowed hosts. Okay. Where's the manifest? Here we go. So allowed paths. Allowed paths here, they explain it. So yeah, this is about the paths that a plugin can access. If left empty or null, then no file access is granted. Oh. So all right, I think I'm not getting that properly. If I do tmp/dat1, or how about this? So we'll do that. And then in our plugin, this is just going to write to dat1. We're going to rebuild it. And yeah, everyone out there in chat, what are y'all up to? Anything fun? So now that we've rebuilt that, we restart the extension host. This flickers a bit for us and should get back to doing something. Could not write to file system. Aha. Yeah, and we definitely just don't see it in there. And I made that mistake. This was dat1. See that refresh. And we get nothing now. Interesting. File definitely didn't get written. They say this is plugin path. Does that mean we need to do the plugin path like this? Right, like mapping which plugin has access to what? So yeah, I think the allowed paths thing could be explained just a little bit better. We still don't get like the initial output string part. File's not getting written. So yeah, when they say plugin path, I don't think it's obvious what plugin path means in that context. So yeah, I think they would really benefit from having a few more examples. And it is open source, so we can create one of those examples if we get it working. Okay. So this is path on disk. So if I do that, and then over here, I think we tried that already, but a slightly different variation. So I just want to fiddle with it just a little bit more. All right, that finished building. Could not write to file system. We did that. So instead, oh, we didn't need to rebuild that one. Yeah, whatever. We'll wait. I doubt the star is actually acceptable. So hold on, we'll do that, and then the place we're writing to would just be dat1. I think we still need to do the slash for the base path part. I guess this is another way we could check to see if this stuff's even being written to. So once that make is done, restart that. Could not write to file system, but we do still get the server hit. So yeah, we're not getting that initial output string just simply because we're doing it twice. But we do see that hello world is being called. So that helps a little bit. Do we have to do the full path access? And if so, it's less robust. We're still doing that. Let me double check and just rebuild. Right? So maybe it has to be like explicit for every file we want them to be able to write to. Which does make it a little less useful, but again, we're not sure. We actually need to like verify this. And we could do this a different way too. I bet there's a command line argument we can pass to the CLI tool. So we don't have to keep restarting the extension. We can just test from the terminal. So we didn't get a second request. Let's reboot it one more time. Okay, so from here, let me think about this. Xdism geno call. Oh, so that's interesting. Here it says allow path, and that it could be accessed from inside the Wasm sandbox. The path can either be a plain path or a map from host path to guest path. Okay, so then we'll do that. We just do a star. Encountered unknown error in call. Yeah, so that path is no good. So what we want to do here then is something like /tmp /tmp. Let's try rebuilding again. And yeah, this is quicker than having to like keep restarting the GitLens extension host. Because I just want to like understand the file system access better. Could not write to file system. Yep. Okay. Double check what we're writing. Still couldn't do that. What do we think that error actually is? Now, we do still see, hold on, all of these node requests are happening. Yep. Okay. And I think we just discovered that that return 1 was actually what was preventing us from seeing it in VS Code as well. Because we weren't getting any of this, right? Like either the print line or the output string. We weren't getting either one of those when we did the return one. So that might have been part of the issue there. If we do pdk.output string, and here we do fs error dot error. Let's see what that is. Ah, so it tries to open it. Right, right. Right, because the file's not there. Duh. So hold on. In Go, do we need to create the file first? Okay, so that one does exist there now, but it doesn't exist in that context. Interesting. Hmm. So I think, hold on. The thing that it's saying doesn't exist is the plugin path that we're trying to write to. Right? So tmp/dat1, right? That's what we're calling from within the plugin. That doesn't exist. Curious how this mapping is working. So I know that I created a file that it should theoretically be able to write to. I might want to look at the permissions for that file. So yeah, this is another thing where I may need to reach out to their Discord and just double check to understand how this is supposed to work. They're definitely doing some sandboxing. It makes sense to me. And we might want to look at their source code just to see. And yeah, OpenDat1 file does not exist. Do I have this backwards? Hold on, let me double check. Right, host path, guest path. That really does seem to me like it should work. Yeah, so yeah, maybe we just pivot, right? I reach out to them on their Discord, getting some clarification, etc. I think it would have been smart if I had thought ahead and tried to invite some of them as guests for some of this content, or at least let them know that I'd be streaming it, and if they wanted to lurk, that would be worthwhile. But not a big deal. So I'll just leave that in my notes for now. Okay, something worth thinking about. So let's pivot a bit. So we'll comment all of that out for now. To do see how FSXS works. Get help from Discord. And yeah, so we at least have this other stuff going. We can just print whatever they send us. We're going to send it off to, our mock endpoint. I guess another big thing that we want to do then, based on our notes, is think about this like API. So we want to maybe send an event of some kind. And you know what? I bet Launchpad is fetching some of this stuff on our own, or on its own. So maybe what we could do is expose a notification. Now, I'm not necessarily saying this is something we want to do, because the problem with VS Code notifications is it is plugin specific. So plugin specific notifications means that if we start notifying too much and the user decides to never see a notification from us again, they don't see any Git Lens notifications again. And that is tricky. But I think that is somewhat worthwhile. Right? Like maybe, I don't know enough about the extension interface. Like maybe we could expose a separate mute button. So plugin API surface area would then be something like functions, callable host functions from within extension. Right, and one of those would be notification. Another one might be, I think notifications, the most obvious one. I'm just thinking, like, what hooks would make sense? Yeah, building out a plugin system is no easy feat. Let's go look at what exposing a function might look like, though. And for that, we need to check the VS Code extension documentation. Oh, and how's the music volume? Anyone out there who's watching right now? Yeah, that doesn't really help us. Let me just do a search. VS Code extension create notification. So that's the UX stuff. What about the actual API? So vscode.window.showInformationMessage. Aha. Okay. So what that might look like then is inside of our extension code. This is where we would do functions. Oh, nope. And I already forgot that part. Let's go look at their docs again. All right, so host functions. There's a key value read, key value write. We probably want to do a namespace for it. What is the namespace meant to do? All right, so we may want to look at the Rust code, but I think that's fine. So here we see that there is extern xdism host. So get total and store total. Those are the functions that we care about. They are unsafe. The kv read, kv write. Okay. So then maybe if I go to the go PDK, here in examples, we see oh, so this creates a reactor module? Oh. So this might have been the issue we had with trying to write files. Oh. Okay. So for the Go code, we had to do some extra stuff. And we also needed this. So hold on. That was something I was missing. I'll add that to my notes. Okay. So yeah, that was a different thing. Oh, and we're looking at if we're building with TinyGo or if we're building with standard Go, right? Oh, interesting. All right. So yeah, there's two ways of doing the TinyGo versus the standard Go stuff. That part's less important. I do like that they show both. That's pretty cool. But yeah, this doesn't do the host function stuff. The JS PDK, let's switch back to that one, double check the examples they have there. Aha, and we see some more. So hold on, exports. No, that wasn't it. Here's a host functions example. Okay. So in here we would call host.getFunctions. And in the Go code, do we have access to that? Right? Like host and all that. PDK dot get-config. I don't see anything about the functions. Yeah, so we just see get var and get config. So in the meantime, let's switch over to the JS extension. Just because we have documentation that works for that, and I just want to see this working. So I'm okay with that. We're going to go CLI plugin TS. Yep, here we're doing just the simple part there. And yeah, this part is pretty nice. These would need to be declared in the d.ts file. Okay, let's shuffle this over. That's where we're going to be doing most of the dev for now. So here in script.d.ts, that's where those host functions are exposed. And aha, right? So we have to do a module. Got it. So that's outside. That would be xdism host. That's the module that maybe there's some like extra logic around loading. Sure. Okay, and then what this will be then as we expose these functions out, right? xdism host. That part we're doing here, that was the namespace there. And then here might be the function notify. Sure. Message. Let's say title and message. And then that is the stuff we saw here. So it's basically this. Oh, but it has to follow a very specific pattern. Okay. So show information message here. Oh, that's like that because we don't know what type it is. So when we look at it, we see that it's message and then items. Oh, so it could be like a button. So we don't necessarily need items, but we do need message. So I wish we could add more context to the title, but whatever. This would just simply be, hold on, what is call context? So we head back to the top level of the JS SDK. Where is it? Host functions. Here we go. And yeah, I'm pretty pumped on how much we've learned about XDism and how it works over the course of this week. This is great. I think I'll be able to make a pretty good talk. You know, I'll be able to cover WASM in general, what it is, why it's important, maybe a little bit of the history of it, and then pivot to talking about XDism, and then pivot to talking about some of this experimentation we did, and showing code examples. So we see kb read, kb write as functions we expose here. This actually seems incorrect. All right, and then we may not be able to do await, but I think call context here is actually wrong, right? According to what they're saying over here, it's current plugin and then whatever arguments we're passing. So it looks like we could do that, and yeah, the ESLint plugin, or not plugin, but config that we have prevents us from doing class style method naming, which is fine. So we do this, sure. We want to expose xdism host notify format. All right, so then over here in the function that's going to call it, we've got notify. And if we look at how they are mapping that, so now let's try it. Boop, boop, boop. So once that's happened, we want to simply, oh, and we don't see how they're doing the call part there. So in here, where they're calling it, yep, that's where host get functions happens. And we can do that outside of things. And this just becomes notify. Will it blend? All right, so let's go save this. Let's recompile the TypeScript code. Unsupported param type. So I think it has to end up being the pointer thing that we saw. That then makes this no good. Just sprinkle a little any on it. It does build. All right. Extension host. Do we see a notification? Nope. Okay, so one thing I could do here is at the start of this, we could see if it even gets called. The fact that we didn't get that after this part is not ideal. That means that this is probably failing out on us. Did it blend? Let's make sure I'm loading the right thing. Plugin, TS, dist. Yeah. All right, so no notification there. I guess a big part would be, are we still getting this to get hit? So if I clear the buffer, I don't think we did see that get hit. Ah. So yeah, this notify function doesn't seem to be getting called. If that's part of the issue. All right, so those warnings should be okay. That's not a big deal there. We didn't see that get called. We didn't see our server get hit. Trying to blend. Did it blend? It did not blend. What? It's just a linting error. It'll be fine. All right, so something seems up. I just comment that and that. Are we good? So now we're not getting any of the output that we expected. Not even a little bit. Is it because we're passing functions now? And if that's the case, I'm really curious what the actual issue and error is. Yes, we're getting no output from that. Our node server is not getting hit either. I wonder if we're just in like a slightly cursed context. All right, so we'll let these things build back up. VS Code doesn't want to restart, right? Okay. Sometimes whenever VS Code needs an update, things get all sorts of wonky. Like, I'm half convinced they just send updates to force us to restart every once in a while. Pretty sure they do that with Windows too. I know, that's a conspiracy theory. Okay, hold on. Okay, so plot thickens. It seems that I may have broken something. Let's rebuild it. Okay, so that was definitely part of it. Something about how we create the d.ts file and how we compile all that. Whew. Sorry for the yawn. That seems to be related. My guess is that they're using the d.ts file as a source of truth rather than just being something that we use in our plugin. If I do that, what do we see there? And yeah, just double checking, when we modify this activate function, we do have to restart the service. So let's see that toggle over again. We see that part again too. Okay. So it's not exposing the function that does it to us. But the moment we go and do something like that, we need to rebuild again. All right, so we restart that. This is now kicking over again. We get to XDism, we see before creating plugin. And the hello world never happens. Okay. So I guess here's my next question. We've got create plugin happening. We're awaiting it. We're not throwing though. So if we see this kick over, I would expect to maybe see that error get logged. Nothing. So this is the trickier part now. We don't get a thrown error from this, but we don't get the plugin to actually call anything. Just do an explicit any failed to call plugin. And we get no other errors there. It just seems like it dies. But here's the thing, like we should have seen this append line. The trickiest part is like GetLens itself actually worked. Right, there are no installed extensions inside of this context. We have no problems. We have nothing to debug, no terminal stuff. Let's look at extension host. Oh, plot thickens there. Renderer closed the message port. Canceled. All right, so wait, what if I do that? That might be the entire problem. Right, we're getting an actual extension host error. Interesting. Yeah. So what's the thing that they're complaining about here? Oh, they hate the E any. Eh. Oh, and append line. Oh, yeah. It probably doesn't do any of that. So yeah, passing the error isn't actually going to help us, because appending the line only takes the one value in that string. We could try something like this. All right, so we go and redo that. Ooh, we saw request body was empty. We don't, oh, hold on, here we go. Okay, so we do get a fairly major error. Oh God. Like massive error. Cannot resolve import. And then if we go look at get at xdism, yeah, that's it. So we head back up to here. Oh, we get a way better error. It was just hiding on us. So cannot resolve import xdism host/user notify not provided by host imports nor linked manifest items. Aha. Okay. Well, and I just realized what time it was. God, it's crazy how the time just disappears from you when you're like really deep into one of these debugging sessions. So, okay, we're running into some stuff about this xdism host/user notify. And it seems to only break when we actually have that. If we comment that, then it works as expected. Okay, so yeah, I think, let me just verify this. Let's do one more build real quick, just to be sure. And then we'll hand it off. Sorry, Allison, for going a bit later. We will hand it off. And what is DevX? Nice 32-minute long video. Then we got like the short one after. I would even maybe say like, let's do the short one first, if that makes sense, Allison. Just because I think that one's more fun. Like, I'll even hang out and watch it with everyone. But I just want to verify one thing over here as we restart this with the rebuilt WASM, but missing that one chunk. So yes, it does seem that they're using the d.ts file for some of their like WASM bundling. Yeah, we see that works just fine. If we head to xdism, we see the hello world. Yeah. Okay, so let me leave a note for myself about that real quick. I seem to be binding the types for the host function incorrectly, which causes xdism to bail out on loading that wasp. Okay. Cool. Yeah, this is pretty good. I might even try and reach out and see if anyone from xdism wants to come on as a guest tomorrow. That'd be kind of cool. But if not, I'll at least send some messages over in their Discord to figure it out. I think we made some really good progress today, though. Yep, and thank you, Allison. Yeah, I didn't have any meetings directly after this. I just have the one that we have in like 20 minutes or so. So yeah, yeah, no, I think I'm at a good point because I do need some time before the next meeting at least, and I need to use the restroom and all that. So I think this is a perfect time for me to call it for today, and then tomorrow we do a bit more. Let me double check what my schedule looks like tomorrow. I might be able to go a little later tomorrow. Nah, so I've got a call like around the same time tomorrow too. But yeah, I really like this this live stream stuff. I'd love it if I could just do this every day. That'd be great. All right, like knock out some low-hanging fruit on some of our open source stuff. That would be amazing. But it would definitely like butt up against the amount of time in which I need to create other content. So we'll see. I think I'd love to convince some people at Get Kraken to at least do like a weekly stream of some kind, just so we can build up that audience and we can, you know, pivot what we do on those days possibly. But I don't know. We've got to think about it. A lot of planning to do, a lot of stuff to think about, and it might not be the best use of our time. So I don't know. We'll see. But I've been having a blast, and I hope you all enjoy it out there on stream as well. So in the meantime, I'm going to switch over to a video. I'm going to watch this video with y'all just because I'm going to watch the first one just because I like this one. So yeah, let me stop the music and we're going to switch over to, I'm going to do the What is DevX short video first, just because, I don't know. I like that one more and I want to watch it.
What is DevX?
DevX?
DevX.
DevX?
DevX.
Like the person who broke up with me?
A lot of people are talking about it. Like, a lot. Including us. But what does it actually mean? We asked devs around the world, what does DevX mean to you?
Developer experience to me is a way to describe the quality of a tool or a library or a piece of software in terms of how the developer uses it.
For me, when I think of DevX, I think of the tools that allow me to create, solve problems, and build cool software. But even beyond the tools, there's the process that goes into it. There's how you manage your backlog, how you open pull requests, how you interact with your team. When all of those things are working together in harmony, that's what I see as a good DevX or developer experience.
Developer experience to me depends. For developers looking at your product for the first time, going on your doc site, do they get pissed off when they look through it and can't figure out what to do? Then you're doing something wrong.
Developer experience, usually it's focused around a company that has like an API or some sort of interaction specifically for developers. One of my first engineering roles at a developer experience company, Netlify, was timed to something meaningful. So that experience could be 30 seconds, could be a few minutes, could be a couple hours or days. But that experience of how developers interact with your product is usually where I try to pen developer experience around.
DevX means prioritizing what the developers are dealing with and shipping code, with tools and process improvement being prioritized over just embracing whatever horrible things have always existed.
I think it means making it easy to get things done the right way. Like a tool should have clear onboarding instructions or guides or wizards or whatnot, so that when you're trying to accomplish whatever task the tool is made for, you're not stuck wondering, did I do it the right way, or what even is the right way?
Having a good tool chain, like things connected to each other that could automate and save us time, I think that's important to me regarding developer experience, because it makes you be more productive.
I think it's about what it's like as a developer to use something. And I think the key thing for me is it's about friction. A good developer experience is a seamless ability to move from idea to implementation.
When I think of DevX or developer experience, it means creating tools that are intuitive and straightforward. Good DevX to me means that I can focus on solving the problems that I need to, rather than trying to figure out how to use tools.
It's always super frustrating when my tools don't work for me exactly in the way that I want them to. So experience as a developer is important for morale more than anything else for me, right?
For me, DevX as a developer means the experience that we have with the tools, technologies that we use every day and help us improve and do our better work.
So I think that having a good DevX is when everything flows, procedures are well defined and everything is clear. Every time you have a problem, you know where to ask and who to ask.
Software development is so complicated nowadays. There are so many different facets to it. It goes all the way down from the ones and zeros all the way up to your entire development organization and how all those pieces come together and how it turns into a final thing that your end customer is using. There's a lot to cover there. That's pretty encompassing.
No matter how you feel about DevX, one thing's clear. DevX is nothing without developers. And during DevX days, we want to make sure you have everything you need to keep moving forward. Because great software doesn't happen by accident. It happens because great people work hard building great things. Any final thoughts?
Lately, I've been trying some fighting games. Got myself a little arcade fight stick, home USB thing, and
You actually? Oh, you're talking like a joystick and like.
Bit random, but yeah, pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna kick off the other video, and Allison's gonna take over, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.
Welcome to another stop in the Get Crackin' workshop series. Today's session is Simplify Your Jira Workflows with Get Crackin' DevX Platform and Git integration for Jira. If you've missed any of our previous workshops, you can get to them through the playlist link below, but let's get into this one. This one's going to be focused on everything Jira. So simplifying your workflows, getting your integration set up, basically taking a little bit of work off your plate to just making it much easier to keep those issues updated and everyone else on your team informed. Your team of presenters today, you have all the product advocates, or most of us, not all of us. Probably a bunch of familiar faces from other workshops that you've seen. Jonathan, who will be kind of covering the Get Crackin' desktop side of things. Melise, you've probably seen on some GitLens stuff. And then myself, I'm focused on the Git integration for Jira product. To quickly run through our agenda for the day, we're basically going to walk through how to set up and then do some workflows through the Get Crackin' DevX platform. So Jonathan will start us off with Get Crackin' desktop and the CLI. Then we'll hand it off to Melise for GitLens and a look at Get Crackin' dev. And then we'll round it out with Git integration for Jira, and then get to some questions at the end. A couple of quick notes before we get started, though. If you have any questions that pop up as we're going through, please add them in the Q&A widget. We'll go through those and get to them as we have time. This session will also be recorded, so if you want to go back to refer to something later, you'll have access to that. And then a thank you for attending live. As you might have seen in the emails and on the registration page, you're automatically entered to win a $50 gift card and Get Crackin' swag. So good luck to everyone with that. Now with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Jonathan.
All right. Thank you. And then Ken, I'll take over the screen. And then Ken, do you mind minding the session participant?
You got it.
All right. Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Sounds like a lot of you here are Jira users who may also be using GitKraken, or perhaps GitKraken is new and you're just looking to see how it integrates with Jira. And so there's lots of good news for those of you who get assigned Jira tickets or who are the ones assigning Jira tickets. Hopefully you'll find something useful here. And I'm going to kick things off by just showing you how to quickly connect the Jira integration in GitKraken Desktop. So for those of you who don't have it connected already, this is the basis, this is the foundation for what I'm going to be showing off today, the benefits. So if you have GitKraken Desktop open, no matter where you are in the application, I'll direct your attention to this gear in the top right corner. And here in the left under integrations is where we have all of our integrations available. And of course, you see here that we have Jira Cloud connected. So I already have it connected. If you are seeing this for the first time, you'll see a green button to hit connect, and that'll take you through a flow. I'm not going to go through that just to save a few minutes so I could show off some of the key benefits of using the integration. But if you have permission to connect to your Atlassian account, then you should be able to make the connection with GitKraken. If you are someone who needs administrator help, that might be a good time to send them a message and see if they can help you get this thing connected. The other thing I'll point out is that the issue tracker is repo specific. So we're going to be using Jira today, but you could decide to use GitHub issues for a different repository. But if you're someone who's joining us today and you're exclusively in Jira, you don't really plan to use any of the issue trackers, again, from the preferences menu, top right corner, bottom left, at the very bottom is this issue tracker. And you can set Jira as not only the issue tracker for this repository, but you can check this box to make it the default issue tracker for any repos that you open in the future. So that's enough preferences and settings. Thanks for your patience there. I know like looking at menus is not always the most fun thing, but what do you get as a result of going through the trouble of connecting your issues with GitKraken? And so you may already be seeing here, but over here on the left, this is what we call the left panel of GitKraken Desktop. So whenever you have a repository open, we will give you the ability to connect to Jira, your Jira board. And so from here, I already have product advocacy. This is the board that I'll be using in today's example, but you could, start typing to filter the list down to the boards that you care about. And once you have a board selected, we have a default filter that will kick in here, and it'll show you all the issues that are assigned to you. So the filter is very simple. It's just looking at the current user being you. But if you're someone who wants to customize this list a little bit further, I'd like to direct your attention to this funnel icon that's right here. You have the ability to create your own filters, and we do use JQL filtering. So let me do, let's see, we'll just call this the Jira demo. So right now I have the JQL filter set to just looking for any projects that are set to product advocacy, but I might care about the assignee being not empty. I'll just say is not, and then I'll select empty. And that's pretty good. I'm happy with this Jira demo. So let's create that filter. And the filter will appear at the bottom of the list. So here you can already see that I have a couple other filters going. So we'll be going through your Jira issues that match that filter. I have 171 that are assigned that are just my issues for this board. And I think if I give it just one more moment here, we'll see how many issues. Here we go. Match my Jira demo filter. So you've probably been seeing as I've been hovering over any of these issues that when you hover over a Jira issue, you do get a quick view into issue details like the title, description, status, and then we have the ability to click into any one of these, and we can look at the issue details directly in GitKraken Desktop. So the benefit here is that I know a lot of us probably just open up another web browser to view the Jira issue directly. I know when we first rolled this out, a lot of users were thankful that we had, the ability to give them Jira issues in dark theme. I know that Atlassian has since rolled that out more recently to users, but it's all here as well in GitKraken Desktop within the context of your Git repository. So from here, you have the ability to edit, your description, your status, add comments. But I think the coolest feature here is the ability to create a branch and associate that branch to this issue. So it's this big green button that I'm hovering over here. I'm going to click on it. And what we do when you click this button is we will pre-populate the branch name with the issue ID and the issue title, which I know is sometimes quite critical for any automations you may have set up, with your remote hosting service that look for branch names that have an issue ID associated to them. And then we ask you, hey, you want to create this branch? What's the base branch going to be? So I have a main branch that we use. I'm going to be using that as my base branch. Then I'll click the button to create a branch. And what that does is we'll open up the repository for you, create the branch, and check it out so you can get right to work. So this is a great way of, a lot of us are probably like looking at what issues are assigned to us, creating the branch, and then writing the code so that we can eventually create a pull request. GitKraken Desktop does a really good job of combining those steps and hopefully saving you some interstitial steps, because we'll present to you all the issues that you might be assigned and then give you the ability to create a branch from those issues. I do want to quickly jump to show how that looks in a newer feature, I should say. We rolled out a major update back in May of 2024, version 10 for those who are counting, and that's with the Launchpad. So the Launchpad is available from this upper left corner, sorry. And thank you, Toast, I appreciate you there. If it's collapsed, you'll see it just as a rocket ship icon. So again, up here in the upper left corner. So this is available to you all. And the view that you might see first is that we will present you all the pull requests that are assigned to you or associated to you in some way. This is great. I encourage you to explore this, but what I'm going to actually click on is this issues bucket, because we do something very similar for all the issues that are assigned to you. So here I have it set to a workspace. Workspaces in GitKraken are just a group of repos. So I have a group of repos that are specific to our help center, which is available on help.gitkraken.com. I have it set to the Jira Cloud integration that I set up earlier, and I have it set to this Jira board. And so this is the list of issues that I have. I can see who is assigned to each one of these. It looks like Laura and I are working on this one. We already have a branch associated to this issue. So a couple cool things here. I can click on this branch and immediately check it out in the graph. Let me go back to the Launchpad. If you hover over this, you can open up that same issues panel that I was showing you at the very beginning. Here it is, same interactions as before. Or if I see an issue that I want to take and I want to create a branch, we have a quick shortcut that allows you to create that branch, very similar to the flow that I was showing before. One final thing that I'll call out here before I show something, a little bonus here, is that you do have this drop-down menu that allows you to either open the issue directly in Jira. So maybe you do want to do something in the browser version of Jira. You can open the instance up in a separate web browser, but you can also update the status and set it to, I know everyone's status might be a little different. I think this one is using the default, but you can change an issue status just from GitKraken Desktop as well. Okay, I think I have just enough time to show how GitKraken CLI integrates with Jira issues. So if you're someone who doesn't really use GitKraken Desktop, maybe you're just a CLI person, I would like to point your attention to the GitKraken CLI, which adds features to your terminal of choice and makes it so that you can interact with pull requests and issues in ways you may not have before. And so this is just gitkraken.com/CLI in case you want to take a look at it and learn more. But what I have here is I already have a CLI open. I ran the command gk issue list just to save a little bit of time here during the demo. But this returned a list of issues, the same list of issues effectively that we were looking at before. I have the ability, of course, to open this up to click on a URL, open the Jira issue in a new view. But I think what would be more interesting is if I showed off that same, let me clear this out. I'm going to run the command gk launchpad, and I'll bump up the zoom here and hit enter. And so this will create the launchpad, but rendered for the CLI. So you're again looking at a list of pull requests, and I'm using the up and down arrow keys to show you different pull requests that are in different statuses. So here I have pull requests that are unassigned, some that have merge conflicts. And then if I use the right arrow key, I can look at that same list of issues and interact with them as well. We do have a combined view for those who just want to have a holistic view. And you might be asking, how does it know which pull request to show? This is based on the workspace concept that exists in GitKraken, in not just GitKraken desktop, but also the GitKraken CLI and the GitKraken.dev, which Melise will show off here in a little bit. But any group of repos that you define. So if you create a workspace, you tell it, hey, look at these 5 repos. We'll use that to search for any pull requests that exist within any of those repos. And then you can define which Jira issues to filter off of. So this behaves very similar to what I was showing before. You connect to Jira, you define the project, and then we'll go ahead and output that list for view right from the CLI. So I'm going to hit escape on the CLI just to exit out of there. I think, Ken, I made my time pretty good. I'll pause there, though, in case there's any questions. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to Melise.
Cool. Looks like there were a few questions that came in. I don't know. Do you want to go through them right now, Ken, or save them for the end?
Jonathan, I'll leave that up to you. Do you want to work through some of these questions now or save them to the end? They're all.
Let's answer a couple of them.
Okay. I'm going to start at the bottom. So there's a question about, is the creative branch for Bitbucket integration, or does it work with Git integration for Jira? So I guess the question is really, to use that creative branch feature, is there any requirements on the other end as far as the providers?
Yeah, I think it's pretty agnostic of whichever remote hosting service. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, the Jira issues, as long as you're connected to Jira, that's the integration that we care about. Whether you're connected to Bitbucket, Azure DevOps, you can have any of those integrations set up, and as long as the Jira issue integration is connected, you can use that create a branch button, just like I demoed earlier.
And then there was another question about updating the Jira issue itself. So is it possible to update, the description or something like that?
Yeah, you can update description, you can add comments, you can edit assignee and status. I think there might be one other field, labels was one that you can edit. Most notably, if you have any custom fields, those are not available through the GitKraken desktop issue view. But hey, if you want to see that, you can go to feature, oh my goodness, feedback.gitkraken.com. I got there. We have a lot of feature requests that users upvote. There's probably one that exists right now that you could probably upvote, again, from feedback.gitkraken.com. Great question.
And then another quick one, is this a free or a paid feature in GitKraken Desktop?
I believe this one's available to everyone. The thing here with GitKraken Desktop is that we look at private versus public. So yeah, if you have a public repo and you want to have all these connections, then you should be able to do it with any of those repositories. When you try to open a private repository, that's where we do ask for a license.
Great. There's a couple of other questions, but I'm going to hand it over to Melise, and we will run through the rest of these at the end. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Ken and Jonathan. Let me go ahead and screen share here. So I promise we won't take up too much time about GitLens because this is a Jira workshop, but I did want to showcase, if you're not familiar with GitLens, GitLens is the top extension on the VS Code marketplace right now. We've got 30 million installs on there, and essentially GitLens gives you the ability to visualize code authorship at a glance and uncover a ton of information you may have not even known existed about your repositories. So it has a plethora of features, which we won't go through all of them today, but a few of them that I want to showcase are things like the rich Git blame commit graph. And we'll dedicate, I promise, a workshop in the future to going through GitLens specifically. But we'll tie this together neatly with showing how you can go directly from GitLens right into gitkraken.dev, which is essentially going to be your command center in the browser that bridges the gap between Jira, GitLens, and all the other services offered in the GitKraken DevX platform. So Real quick, again, let's take a quick tour of GitLens just to familiarize yourself with what you're looking at here. If you've used GKD in the past, you're probably familiar with the commit graph, which I have open right here. But one of the main things GitLens is known for is our inline blame functionality. So if you're typically coding or you're working with a team that is typically in the actual editor or their IDE, you can actually visualize right here specific authorship about this commits, about the actual line history, and different aspects of the actual file by tapping GitLens inspect over here. Now, this is really neat because it actually gives you the ability, which I'll showcase in a second, how it'll give you the ability to bridge the gap between your actual inline blame annotations and Jira, and actually see specific issues directly in the IDE itself and access those right from the IDE. Now, one other cool thing too I want to showcase is visual file history. This might be useful if you want to kind of get a grasp on what's been changing in the file. Let me enlarge this here so you can kind of see. So based on time periods, this is a great way to visualize who's actually making the most contributions to a project, or specifically who's adding, deleting stuff. It kind of gives you a top-down oversight into the specific file history and helps you isolate kind of the most important pieces and contextual places that things might happen. That could be bugs, that could be contributions from the team to a specific section of code. Very powerful stuff. And this is all baked into the GitLens feature sets. So, and if you're familiar with the commit graph, it might look very similar. There are a few features here that we have that are really powerful, like the activity mini map here, which allows you to kind of jump through time based on contributions, additions, and changes. And then you can actually see here the standard commit graph that we use across the GitKraken DevX platform. One neat thing about if you're using GitLens, I always encourage people to try is just right-clicking on this. It gives you another set of detailed information, like creating a branch, checking out a branch, and then also for commits, you can do specific things too. Now, let's go over here and take a look at the GitKraken account. So when you access from GitLens specifically under the GitLens home icon, which is right here, when you install the GitLens extension, this icon will appear. So this one, you can easily access cloud patches, workspaces, and at the very bottom here is going to be your GitKraken account. So if you already have a GitKraken account, that's perfect. And if you don't, you can start a trial and it'll ask you for some information. But once you create an account, you can access right here via cloud integrations or manage account. So I'm just going to tap manage account. It's going to open up gk.dev, which is gitkraken.dev. Cool. So once you're on gitkraken.dev, like I said, this is basically your command center. Let me enlarge this here so we can kind of see. There we go. So no more hide and seek with project updates. .dev unifies your entire development projects and team statuses here, providing a clear insight into workflows that kind of give you a better way to align efforts and just reduce errors in general. Now, Jonathan showcased earlier Launchpad inside of GKD. So this is Launchpad inside the browser. And this is kind of where you want to start your day. I mean, with Launchpad, you can view all your issues. You can see here pull requests directly from your browser. And if you need to identify priority PRs, the Launchpad also organizes your pull requests and issues by status, allowing you to quickly kind of address blockers, maintain project momentum. So it's a great way to kind of kick off the day. The other thing that I want to call is suggested changes here. So you see these are code suggestions. Now, code suggestions let you easily kind of review code revisions directly from the browser and even open them inside of GitKraken Desktop or in VS Code. So if I tap this, it'll actually fetch the change. Well, this is actually my sandbox change, but essentially it allows you to, actually review your team's code suggestions, and you can approve the commit code changes directly to your PR from here, or you can open them up directly inside of one of the surfaces. So let me minimize this. Let's go back to the main command center. Now, a couple other things we have here too are cloud patches. So if you need quick feedback on a new feature or fix, for example, cloud patches let you quickly share your commits and work in progress effortlessly right here with other team members. You can distribute these cloud patches, and you can also access them again within the other surfaces of GitKraken. So this is all happening within gitkraken.dev. Accessibility and visibility across the board for all the DevX platform. One other cool thing is workspaces. Now, workspaces is pretty useful to access from here for grouping repositories by project or topic. At least from a browser, creating a workspace is convenient now. You can add or remove repositories as your project develops. And this is a great way kind of to provide access to onboard new developers to projects and reducing the time it kind of takes for them to get on board as well. Now, a couple other things I'll let you guys explore on your own because we're limited on time, but user management is in here. You also have the ability to have centralized security settings as well, and integrations. So integrations, you can see here, this is where we're going to jump back into GitLens, but you can see all the different integration providers you can manage. So I've connected Jira Cloud right here. Now what this does for me specifically is it allows me to go back into GitLens over here. And from GitLens, I can actually now access, without context switching again, I can access all my different Jira issues that appear via inline blame, wherever they might be located, or even in the commit graph. So you can see down here, I have a commit selected, and you can actually see under auto links in the commit details panel here, I've got some GitHub auto links that will link out to GitHub, but I've also got a Jira integration connected, and I believe, let's see if I click this, there we go, immediately fetches the issue. So this is a great way to simplify your workflow and kind of just quickly gain insight with automatic linking of issues, pull requests, I mean, across just not only Jira, but GitHub as well. But it just lets you kind of manage quickly and jump directly into the visibility of what's going on with this specific commit. What is this related to in relation to Jira? And I mean, it's a great asset to have. And it'll appear, like I said, in commit details, it'll appear across the board inside of inline blame and other locations inside of GitLens as well, where you'll find different auto links. Cool. So there's a ton of stuff we could go through with GitLens, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to Ken, and we'll save some of our time today for some more stuff that Ken wants to showcase.
Thanks, Moise. All right. So in our remaining time, I'm going to kind of focus on the Jira side of things. So as you're doing your work and we're associating work to Jira issues, you need some sort of integration that makes that information visible in Jira so that your product managers, project managers basically have visibility into what's going on with these repositories. And we want to tie them to issues. One of the ways you can do that is with our Git integration for Jira app. Which will let you integrate any repository, whether you're using GitHub, GitLab, Azure, with your Jira, and that can be cloud or self-hosted with either Jira or your Git repositories. So I'm first going to take you through a workflow here that, let's say you're assigned a Jira issue and you get an email alert or someone sends you a link to the issue. So we're in Jira now, we're looking at an issue. One thing that we add here is a create branch and create pull request button. So directly within the context of this Jira issue, I can go ahead and create this branch. And then based on the repositories we have connected, I can select the appropriate repository for this and the appropriate source branch that I want to use to create this branch off of. Now, I have my own personal defaults here too. So if there's certain repositories you tend to work with, we can preload that so you're not changing this every time. And then we pre-populate the branch name as well. So like we mentioned before, you want to include the Jira issue key to associate all this different work to an issue. So your admin that sets this up can basically set up this naming template. So if you have a certain way you want your branches to default to be named, whether that's bringing in the Jira issue key or some other variable, we can pre-populate that. So this flow is really as simple as you open this up and click create branch. So once I do that, the branch is created, and then we can actually jump out to that branch and continue our workflow. So once the branch is created, Git integration for Jira, anywhere we see a commit or branch or any sort of repository associated item, we'll have links to the web interface for your repository, and then also deep links out to GitKraken desktop and GitLens. So for this particular example, I'm going to deep link out to GitKraken desktop. And I'm going to check out this branch. And just make a small change here. So I created my branch, I changed some files, I did my work. Now I'm going to make a commit. So I'll stage these changes, and like I mentioned before, we're going to include the issue key. And what we can also do is use smart commits. So in our commit message, we can make changes to the Jira issue through our commit message. So in this case, I'm going to transition this issue to in progress. And my company makes me log time. So I'm going to log an hour of time. And then also put a comment in the issue that this needs more work. So I'll commit and push. And if I refresh this issue, we'll now see that this issue was moved to in progress. There's Git commits on here. So anyone that's invested in this issue, be it your product manager, your dev team lead, they'll have the info to know that you actually worked on this issue. And then if they want to even view a code diff, they can come in here and look at the changes that were made to the file. So increases visibility for them. You're handling kind of the administrative work through your commit message, so it makes it easier for you. And then one quick thing we'll round out this session with is Jira automation rules. So let's say you don't want to have to remember to include your transition status in your commit message. Wouldn't it be great if you could set up some rules that just say, hey, anytime we make a commit, that should transition an issue to in progress. Your Jira administrator can come into automation and basically add a trigger, and we can look at the DevOps triggers, based on a branch created, commit created, a pull request being open or merged. We can use that trigger to make something else happen. So in this case, we would do commit created. And then when a commit's created, what do we want to do? We want to transition the issue to in progress. And then we can basically turn this rule on. And anytime that you make a commit on an issue, as long as you include that Jira issue key, it's going to handle that transition of the issue. Now, you can do all sorts of other things if you want to send an email or a Slack message or add any other conditions. The automation engine's pretty robust. There's lots of things you can do with it. So this is a really simple example, but just think if you can kind of work with your team and your administrators and say, hey, let's get these 5 rules set up, it'll make your workflows much easier, because then you don't have to remember to kind of do the Jira tasks that we all hate having to remember to do. If you can automate them, it's a much easier process. So there's much more to Git integration for Jira as well that would help your workflows. In the interest of time, we'll pause there though, so we can get to some questions real quick. And let me go through here. There was a question earlier, Jonathan, about do people need to use Jira as the issue tracker to see things on the My Issues tab? And I think this relates to the Launchpad, right?
Yeah, the My Issues view can be, you can configure it to show GitHub issues. Any of the issue trackers that we support, which also includes GitLab issues, Trello. So it's not limited to just Jira. You can use the other issue tracker integrations that we have. Most of the other issue tracker integrations also support the issue view that I was showing for Jira. So all that is there too.
There was a question, does GitKraken have the ability to update the work log of a Jira ticket? Is that possible through the desktop version?
To my knowledge, no. That sounds like a really good one though, for the feedback.gitkraken.com one. I can see how that would be useful.
Melise, help me out here if I'm missing anything on the questions too.
Yep.
Can you automatically add the issue key to the commit message? Jonathan, are you aware of any way to kind of do that when you're making your commits?
Nothing comes to mind. But I think what we can probably try to do is, for any questions that we don't get to on the session, I think we could try to follow up with as many of you as we can, and see if we can get you some helpful information that can help you explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a couple of other questions here. So like Jonathan said, we're going to get you all out of here, try to keep us to time, but we'll definitely follow up directly to make sure anyone that did ask a question, we get you a response. So thank you all for joining us again. We really appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening or morning or whatever time it is for you. And we hope to see you on the next one. Thanks again.
Hello, all the folks still in the chat. It's me, Allison, just signing off for today's live stream for DevX Days. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. You just watched our Jira workshop, which is available on demand on YouTube if you'd ever like to check it out in the future. Again, we are live streaming every day this week as part of DevX Days, which has, depending on your location, up to 80% off your first GitKraken Pro seat and just some big savings on GitKraken Pro for yourself and your team. So if you're interested in getting your first seat, or if you want to get some additional Pro seats, now is our lowest price of the year. We do have a QR code here if you would like to scan it and check it out yourself. There she goes. She's up. The coupon code is case sensitive, so just keep that in mind. Also, as a part of DevX Days, we are sponsoring open source projects on GitHub. So you can comment on any of our social posts, or you can make a post tagging us on social at GitKraken and including the hashtag DEVEXDAYS24 with any projects or contributors that you think are working on some cool stuff. All right. Thank you again, everyone. We will be live same time and place tomorrow to wrap up this exciting week. Hope you all have a great rest of